it's something really, that would be like fairly new here.
Yeah. Me too.
I'll take it for a brand.
I'm not even in yet.
Annie is actually our new productivity coach. So both of you ladies need to get on her calendar.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
All right, so we are on session 4, define your value.
Did you send it to me?
I emailed it to you. It would have came from front desk 1074. Huh?
The Wi-Fi.
It's Hosbrook with 100 with capital H. All right, while you pull that up, I'll go through all the legal jargon. You ever heard of TCPA? Telecommunication Protection Act. If they are on the do not call list, do not call them. Also, this goes through the fact that all these materials are examples and they are the opinions of KW and does not necessarily make it law. And that you're always negotiating our commissions. All commissions are negotiable. They are not a set price. Fair housing, AI disclaimer, make sure that you're double checking any AI. And these are copyright materials of KW. There we go.
It's just Osbrook. What's it?
Hosbrook 100.
Oh, so
Yep.
is it another guest? Or
No,
is it
just a regular somehow. Okay, so we are on define your value, and I know Shannon's been to all 4 classes so far, so congratulations on that. Zanisha, is this your first one?
Yes.
Okay. Annie, is this your first one?
No, I came to the first one and then.
A little bit.
Yeah. Missed the next 2, transition, like transition.
Teaching this school.
Chad?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had conflict, so I'm Chad for today.
Yeah.
Oh, and Chris is here. Come on in, Chris. I am Chad Mormon.
Hi, Chad. Chat GPT.
Chad, yes, Chad GPT. It's funny. So we're just talking about defining your value, and that is today's topic. So we started with spark your career, embrace your job, connect with your market, and now defining your value. So today's agenda is we're going to talk about your value proposition. We're going to go into what matters to buyers and sellers. We're going to not only talk about our value proposition, but we're going to define it. And we're going to do a little role play also. So I put you on the spot earlier, so we will.
Like, I'll be ready now.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. You have to be on your toes. You
True.
never know
True.
when you're in the elevator or out and about where you have to sell it, right? Right. So that's today's agenda. And it is warm in here. So well,
Cold, that's.
it was cold and I turned on the heat
Oh.
and then you turn off the AC because then the AC fans keep going and anyways. So it will cool down here in a minute.
I know a great HVAC guy.
Really?
Yeah, I'm in real estate.
Unfortunately, I can't call my own HVAC guy. I have to call the landlord, then calls the HVAC guy, and then I'm completely at their mercy, but, yeah. Good stuff, and I do apologize, I have a sick kid too at home, so if he calls, I will have to jump on that, but he should be fine. He's got plenty of medication. All right, so we are talking about the value proposition. So knowing what skills and strengths you bring to the table will give you confidence in running and growing your business. Therefore, it is important to know how to express your value when interacting with your clients and potential clients. Let's talk more about what your value proposition is. Your value proposition is a unique, memorable, and persuasive statement that expresses the true value of working with you, addresses the specific and special needs of the buyers and sellers in your market, states what you will do for your client to earn your commission and fee. And 4, which I think is extremely important, it holds you accountable to high standards. For committing to all the things. Your value proposition ultimately is a promise to fulfill your client's needs.
Are you?
We are,
It's like
if you were in we're Ignite session 4. We are,
Yeah, it's well.
yeah. Okay, so who's heard of the Y4CT? Yeah,
From our first class.
yes, okay, you
Long
know, there's a
time.
dance that goes with it?
Like.
Yes.
Why?
Oh, no, there's like, okay, so. Let me see, it's like win-win or no deal. Integrity comes first, I'm not gonna do all that. And then the 4 Cs, what's interesting about the 4 Cs is that the first C is customers. Because customers always come first. And so. When thinking about that. Win-win or no deal. What does that mean to you when you're talking about your value proposition?
It has to work for everyone. Has to work for everyone involved, for you, for your clients, for clients on the other side table. Then everyone, it has to benefit everyone involved.
Yes. And they give an example in here, it says you ensure that all who are involved in real estate transactions will have the
Address
best.
this, sorry.
Will have the best possible outcome, yourself included. How does that show up with your customers when you're talking about your value proposition and alignment with your customers? First C. Customers always come what? First, okay. Prioritize understanding your customers' needs, right? Because why? I mean, this is their the biggest purchase they will ever make in their entire life. Until they get equity and then move on to their next house, right? But we're talking about the largest transaction that they will ever make. You are facilitating that transaction. So who comes first in the transaction? The customer, right? Hello, Bria, come on in. Man, I love it. I should just put Chad's face up on all my classes and then I just show up.
I saw you, oh, I gotta get there.
Oh, that's great. I love this. I'm Chat GPT today. Do you have the materials?
What do you have?
For Ignite, I will email them to you.
Okay.
Yeah. And what page, is it in the manual?
It's over 4.3.
4.3, okay. All right, so I'll let you get set up on that. Alright, so here's a quote from the MREA. Together about the, look at the quote from MREA about your value proposition. So top agents can easily explain what services they will provide to anyone who hires them. So this is what we were talking about earlier with Danny. What's your elevator pitch? You can get into an elevator, someone's in the elevator, start talking about real estate because organically real estate comes up anytime. What do you do for a living? Oh, really? Oh, how's the market going? Funny you should ask. And then you deliver, okay? So, and there's also an example when I was doing research for a team meeting on Tuesday, is can you take a blank piece of paper and articulate your value proposition if your slideshow went down, or you go to a buyer consultation and your computer dies and you can't pull anything up, or if you just have that moment, can you look at a blank piece of paper and write out your value proposition? If you can't, that's something you need to work on, and this class will help you kind of figure out what your value proposition is and work on that. There is another class called Value Squared that KW put together during the time of the NAR settlement. And it talks about articulating it, and this is a nice little companion class to that. All right. Benefits of a value proposition. Well, it helps your clients understand your value and expertise. Not everyone knows why they should hire a real estate agent. A lot of people don't think they need to hire a real estate agent. Some people, especially FSBOs, think they can just sell it on their own. So helping your clients understand your value proposition, why they should hire a real estate agent. It shows with your potential clients, provides them the opportunity to see how working with you can make their real estate experience better. It can show how you can bring more value, potential money to the table if you're working with a seller. Your value proposition also protects your commission, your fee. Your value proposition helps you stand out from the competition and helps your clients understand what they're paying for. The last thing you want is you get through a transaction and they're like, well, why do I have to pay you? I had to do everything. That doesn't feel good, right? So you're defining you have your compensation and you have your value proposition, and it's just easy. You want at the end of the transaction for your clients, but can I tip you more? Or can I pay you more? Because you did such a great job. Build strong and trusting relationships. Your value proposition is your promise to your client. By keeping your word when working for your client, you earn their trust. Clients who trust you are more likely to hire you again in the future and refer you to your family and friends. So when you deliver on your value proposition, you tell them you're going to do something, and then you do it, you wow them, and then what's the biggest, Annie, I'm gonna use your example a lot because you've been in the real estate longer than anyone else in the room. How much of your business comes from either repeat or referral from your existing business?
87%.
87%. Because you deliver your value proposition, you do what you say you're gonna do, and follow up with them, and you are building those relationships, and they continue to use you over and over again, and then they are your raving fans, and they go out and tell everybody about you. Okay. All right, these are some value proposition examples. When learning how to define your value proposition, it may be helpful to look at examples of value propositions from other successful companies. So I know we have 5, which is great. So let's kind of pop around on these. Who wants to read the Airbnb one?
Airbnb exists to create a world where anyone can belong anywhere, providing healthy travel that is local, authentic, diverse, inclusive, and sustainable.
All right, who wants to read the next one? Okay.
Our everyday low prices for a broad range of goods that are always in stock in convenient geographic locations.
All right.
Slack makes it downright pleasant to work together. They got it.
Man, it's so angry, it's like shut down. Hold on, okay, sorry about that. All right, next one.
Great writing, simplified, composed, bold, clear, mistake-free writing with Grammarly's Powered Writing Assistant.
All right, next one.
Send invoices in minutes, get paid 2 days faster.
Woo, I wish I was here.
Here to
And then State Farm, huh?
Thought I'd just take on 2. Here to help life go right.
Okay, so
Sorry.
what do you think, why do you think that these, because especially the Walmart one, like I've heard that one before, multiple times. Airbnb one, I've heard too. QuickBooks, that's cute. But just because I have my love-hate relationship with QuickBooks. What do you notice in these value propositions? That like an aha from these value propositions, what did you notice? Huh? You have to speak up.
Their mission.
Their mission, yeah, their value, yeah.
writing about themselves. I mean, not writing it about, just showing what they have to offer, just in one quick, precise statement.
Absolutely,
Succinct, short.
yes,
Some of them are really specific about what they offer, but like something like Slack or State Farm, it's like they don't even, you don't even know what that business is.
right,
It's more about like the vibe or like the vision.
yeah. Yeah, it's quick, it's concise. Does it intrigue you a little bit when you read something like this? Like, I look at it like State Farm, here to get life go right.
In my mind, I'm like, you need your insurance company, if something's gone wrong, but yeah.
But you don't have to have a 3-page value proposition. Like, this is your statement, this is your 10-second elevator pitch. So when you're thinking about your value proposition and your elevator pitch, we want to make sure it's short and concise. All right,
Is there an example of what this, like what that, one of those would look like for a real estate agent?
okay, well, let's talk about that. I mean, I think we're gonna get into that in here.
I was just curious because those are
Well,
not as direct, like directly towards like.
if you go to the next page,
Okay.
okay? So connect to your value. So we're on in participation guide, I think it's 412. So FAR and Ignite, we have discussed your value that is enhanced by being part of KW. What it means to serve as a fiduciary for your clients and the importance of being a market expert. How does being part of Keller Williams family bolster your personal value proposition? So in here it says, being an agent with Keller Williams means you have access to command, which allows you to streamline the entire real estate transaction, thus providing a seamless experience for your clients. So that's a KW value proposition or leadership to say to a potential client or agent. How does your value proposition relate to serving as a fiduciary for your clients? Being a fiduciary for your clients means they place their best interest above anything else. While serving as a fiduciary, you simultaneously raise your level of service and the value you provide to your clients, which is what exemplifies your value proposition. So we're building it here, okay? We're figuring out what our value is. And then third one, how does being a market expert add to your value proposition? When you have your finger on the pulse of the market, the knowledge you gain and share, there's type of share with your clients is part of your value proposition. This is because whatever you learn will help you in guiding your clients to make the best decisions. So we're kind of taking pieces here, all right? So part of my value proposition. All right, so I'm part of KW. I have access to command. If you're on a team, like Chris, you've got access to the team systems. So you could add in there, as part of your, not only with KW, I'm a part of the #1 real estate team in Cincinnati, where we have systems and admin and marketing that's gonna help you get top dollar on your listing. So that,
What was that stat that, Tara shared yesterday? Was it like, #1?
yeah, so Keller Williams yesterday was ranked the #1
I know, I shared.
brokerage, real estate brokerage, 9 years in a row, real estate brokerage franchise, 9 years in a row, based on T360, I believe. So yeah, so you, part of your value proposition, and typically like your buyer presentation and or your listing presentation, you're backed by the #1 real estate franchise in the US. Okay. So that was the KW part. Now we're looking, so we're breaking it down. We've got the KW part. So that's, if you're part of a team, you want to throw in your team, you want to throw in the market center value. And then your value proposition relating to serving as a fiduciary is that you put your clients first. Part of KW and the Y4C2Ts is that customers always come first. And while serving as a fiduciary, you simultaneously raise your level of service and the value you provide to your clients, which exemplifies your value proposition. All right, so we've got our KW, the backing of the brokerage or the team and the team. Got your being a fiduciary. And then you're the market expert. So that's something else we went over in team meeting on Tuesday. Is where to find some of those statistics easily. Pulled up the Domos analytics as far as breaking down the different counties, looking at your average sales price, days on market based on statistics from March. We pulled up the MLS, looking at all the listings, new listings that came up in the last 7 days. How many of those were price reductions? Understanding what those trends in the MLS are telling us of the pulse to the market. So that's those are like kind of the 3 parts of your value proposition.
Is there a way, are there ways to differentiate that from, I mean, I think the Keller Williams value part does differentiate from what other people might say at other brokerages. Is there a way to kind of differentiate for those 7 too?
For the what? I didn't hear the second part of it.
Oh, so for the second too, so like for fiduciary and being a market expert, is there a way to like raise it to better set yourself apart from what other people might say?
Well, I mean, it comes into your delivery and your confidence and because you can say, I have a pulse to the market in 400 different ways.
Sure.
So where you could find your own niche is maybe focusing on what you're passionate about and what you can easily articulate. So you have agents who, I'm not actively selling. I live in Deer Park, so I could say, I not only have I lived in Deer Park for 15 years and I'm a part of X, Y, and Z board, I'm on the PTO, I really have, if I'm talking to someone that's interested in buying a Deer Park, I have a pulse on the market, I've got pocket listings, I have friends I know that are gonna come, so like you can kind of sweeten it up with just your knowledge of a particular area that you're farming. Because yes, you don't wanna make it too general. But you also wanna somewhat, in your value prop, address a problem that you're going to solve.
Okay. So like using examples and storytelling to demonstrate that you know the market or demonstrate that you.
But you wanna be concise, because you don't wanna mouth vomit a bunch of statistics, because they're only gonna be interested in the first 30 seconds of that comment. Right? So you just have to be sweet and concise. Here's the reality of it, using AI. You can coach it and tell them, okay, I'm working on my value proposition, I've been a real estate agent for X amount of years. I've sold homes in this part of the neighborhood, ask me 3 questions of how I service my clients. And then ChatGPT is gonna respond and say, okay, give me an example of a difficult situation in a transaction. And you can answer it, or you can simplify the questions. So in working, I mean, absolutely leverage ChatGPT or Gemini. We all have access to Gemini Pro. Have Gemini ask you questions to deliver that value proposition. Give me a statement that's going to showcase me at a different level than the standard value prop. Help me write a elevator pitch. I mean, we've got to leverage these systems. We don't have to fixate necessarily on exactly what to say when we can really, the Gemini you can use that as a tool. The next page, or just to continue kind of on this, so we talked about the market center, the fiduciary, and the market being the market expert. We talked about if you're farming a specific neighborhood, adding those details into your value prop, but also like, are you bilingual? Did you have you worked in sales X amount of years outside of just real estate? Are you part of a family of real estate agents? They're doing some funny examples in here. Maybe you have a degree in finance or accounting, or maybe there's some additional education that you have that a traditional real estate agent may not have. Maybe you wanted to be an astronaut and your, your major was in
Astrophysics.
whatever, astrophysics. Anyways, but making sure you're highlighting some things that are maybe unique to yourself. That they might, you can tie in, like I worked in 20 years in hospitality and wedding. Weddings, I did weddings for 20 years, I can. Negotiate with a bride like the best of them, I can negotiate with the mother of a bride, which is scarier than a bride, like the best of them, so. I can use my customer service, making sure that I'm gonna give them a red carpet experience, because in my past profession. I literally rolled out a red carpet every single night for my events. So. Take those experiences and tie them in and tie in other education to your value proposition. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely gotta be something. It sounds like. More specific to you, it has to be distilled down a lot.
Yeah. Well, you have to be authentic. You have to show, like, when you're doing your elevator pitch. The term elevator pitch sounds very corporate, to be honest, like. You have to show authenticity in your value proposition. And it will come across a lot better. Alright, so let's look at some possible ways you can charge up your value proposition with what you have already learned about. So KW value. I have access to the collective knowledge and experience of nearly 200,000 agents worldwide. That's a fact. Largest real estate brokerage in the world. Fiduciary, I can point you to reputable resources for service providers such as handyman, window washers, tax associates, and financial advisors. It is really important. I cannot stress this much enough. That you have allied partners in all aspects of real estate. You need to know a guy. So that your clients will call you because, I got a guy for that, I got a guy for that. I've got a plumber, I know a roofer, I know a couple of roofers, you probably wanna have more than one, because if the one doesn't do a good job, then it's really bad. I know a landscaper, I know who you can talk, because my prior profession, I would have an infinite Rolodex of, I got a guy for it. I know a roofer, I know a landscaper, plumbers, all the things. So you need to be that for your clients because it's not only buying or selling. So part of the fiduciary is I can point you to a reputable resource for service providers, such as handymen, window washers, tax accountants, and financial advisors. Believe it or not, I know a window washer. I do. Cash only. Market expert. I can help you price your home to sell because I'm attuned with the market at the moment. Knowing the statistics. You have to do research. You have to constantly be on the MLS, RPR, looking at domos, knowing what's going on if you're farming a specific area. You have to have a heartbeat to what the market is doing. And the reality is, when they start announcing things that's going on in the market, it's usually in the rear. We're already on to the next thing. The market shifts. By the time we realize it's shifting to a buyer's market, it's probably already back on its way to the seller side. So staying on top of it and being able to predict activities in the market is huge. All right. You gotta know what's going on. I was just talking to an agent, he's got a listing coming up in a neighborhood that's right where my boyfriend lives. And we know of developments that are going on in that neighborhood that's gonna impact the sale of that house. And I was telling him like, hey, did you know that they're building a whole area of subsidized houses about a block and a half away? Like 150 new homes, subsidized housing. They're building a gas station. I mean, these are things that could potentially impact the sale of that home, positive or negatively. All right, what kind of ahas do you have on this section?
I like the fiduciary definition where you basically, we have to be resourceful. That's the aha for me, because I was kind of like saying like the pivot of, okay, just be the realtor here, but you do have to be like, that is some way to be an extra, like, part of a great agent, a top agent for someone's.
You have to be the hub of everything. What else?
Well, I think you broke it down too, because regarding the fiduciary, because if you see the commercial about the investment, there's an investment commercial and they're basically saying that other investment agencies aren't fiduciaries, but they are. On your real estate agent, then every real estate agent is supposed to be a fiduciary. So that helped explain like what was set us apart from other brokers.
Absolutely. And you would hope all real estate agents would be a fiduciary, but. not that much.
I like the idea of tying some of this into the PW belief system.
Yeah.
Or why force me to tease.
Yeah. Let's quiz me, so I need to know these. Win,
Okay.
win or no deal. The I is integrity, always do the right thing. Customers always come first. Commitment and all the things. Creativity. Above my, or creativity before. Is it creativity?
Ideas before.
Yeah. And then.
I forgot one of the C's.
I know, cause creativity is the last one on purpose. Said customers commitment. Communication. Alright, communications, that's for the 2 T's is trust and. Teamwork, and then E is equity and S is success. Gotta work on that. I'm working on a KW thing. If I can't spit that out fluently, then I'm in trouble. Okay, next section. What matters to buyers and sellers? So now we talked about our value proposition, kind of ideas around structuring it. What actually matters in a value proposition to your buyers and sellers? All right, so you guys should be, in your participation guide, should have this on your page. Are we on the same page? This one?
4.6.
4.6, yeah. Wish they would put them on here. 4.6, okay. So understanding what buyers and sellers want out of their real estate experience isn't complex, yet it requires that you know the purpose of real estate. Purpose of real estate is different for buyers and sellers. In the MREA, Gary explains, for buyers, their goal is to just find the right home at the best price in the right time with the least number of problems. And for sellers, their goal is to net the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of problems. It's pretty simple, right? Sellers want a lot of money. Buyers want to buy a home. And what's the same for both of them is the least amount of problems. So what happens to your client's buying or selling experience if you don't understand the purpose of real estate for buyers and sellers? Yeah.
Give me that question.
What happens to your client's buying and selling experience? So their selling experience. If you don't understand the purpose of their real estate needs.
Then you're defeating the purpose, they're not gonna be satisfied. It's gonna basically be, like she said, like everything you want, and you're not getting. I needs like get back, you have a different approach. So yeah, just wanna make sure you got everything they need first.
Yeah.
Explaining.
They're gonna have a horrible experience. And if you're not in tune with what their needs are, then you're not gonna have that 87% referral rate and return rate on the clients. So let's talk about the phrase in the, what the buyers and sellers want, with the least number of problems. Which is important for both buyers and sellers in their real estate experience. Sometimes problems will occur. Yet with their due diligence. They can either be prevented or minimized. What does that mean to you all?
So there's solutions to every problem, probably. You just gotta figure it out. To try to come up with a solution. So if a problem comes up, don't just, like just wing it off or just use your resources, honestly.
What about this? So if you're working with a buyer, you've sat with them, you've pre-qualified them, you understand what their wants are. And you all walk into it and they start sending you houses that are contradictory of what their wants are. And if you don't address that difference, you're gonna potentially have an issue. Or if you're walking into a home that's priced over what they're approved for, that's an issue. If you're not in tune, if you're not communicating, so what are some of the things that you can do to kind of prevent? Give me some examples of situations that come up where you've been proactive in preventing an issue that could have been an issue in the long term.
I think, it's important to have conversations around common issues that come up at the very beginning. With sellers, talking to them about inspection and what to expect, setting expectations about what problems might happen. And how we can, one, prevent it from happening, and two, what the plan is for if these things come up. Yeah, and the same thing with buyers, talking to them about potential issues. Or explaining to them why we don't go and see homes that they can't afford. In the beginning.
And that's one of the C's, is communication, right? And then we have situations that come up and we need to use the W, is this a win-win or no deal? So that's why like that Y4C2T is like, really can use that in your transactions and figure out, okay. Is this a win-win or no deal? Chris, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I guess this is adding on to it a little bit, but. I think an unexpected issue is worse than if it's the same issue than an expected issue. So this is kind of along the lines of what Annie was saying, but. When I was teaching, if you tell kids in the morning that the afternoon gym class is canceled. It's way better than telling them 5 minutes before gym class is canceled. And so even though it's a bad thing, when they know to expect it, there's a level of comfort and security in that. Or even if it's how much of a possibility that is. So I think it helps to kind of proactive and set those expectations, even if they are potentially negative.
Yeah. Well, we're going into spring market, right? So we've got a lot of buyers out there. There's a lot of listings that are coming on. If these listings are priced right, you've got to be ready because you're possibly going to go into multiple offers. So clear communication to your buyer and letting them know, like, okay, we're going into this house and you're being proactive because first you've done research on this home. So like, all right, this house is priced right. Run the comps, you've looked around, you're going into the showing. And you let them know, like, if you're really interested in this house, you need to be ready to put an offer in. Because if we're not gonna be able to sleep on it, because what would happen if you just let them dictate, well, we're gonna just sleep on it.
You won't be sleeping at home.
You're gonna be sleeping in another house because you're not getting this one. Right, well, so you can look at those potential problems and with communication, but you have to be in tune with your clients. And understand what they need and understand that. Everything we've already talked about, they want the right home, they want it for the best price. And with the least amount of problems. Then you throw in the appraisal situation, we've got this really ugly appraisal situation with a TCD client where. And there's this one line they put in there in their appraisal that's impacting if the lender can fund it. And it's pushed back the closing, it's created a lot of issues. There's a high level of communication and there's a lot of stuff in there that could have been anticipated, but you have to explain the appraisal process, you need to explain the inspection process. That's part of your value proposition, if you understand the ins and outs of an appraisal, you understand the ins and outs of an inspector. I'm not saying you have to be an inspector. Definitely should not be an inspector, you stay in your lane, but you have to understand the process. You have to understand potential issues that may come up in the lending. Oh my gosh, Mr. Buyer, do not buy that car. We are under contract to buy this home. Do not lease $100,000 Audi. Tackle them before they get to the dealership. So it's just you have to understand those processes and that's part of your value proposition. Okay. All right. All right, we're gonna move on, next page. Top 10 service areas of the buyer proposition. So here are the top 10 service areas of the value proposition from the MREA. And let's quickly go through these. And we'll talk about, I guess this has been gone over in great detail in tomorrow's session, but value proposition, your needs analysis. You understand the needs of the buyer or the seller. Well, no, we're talking about buyers. Understand the needs of the buyer. What is an example of the need of the buyer?
Number of bedrooms.
Bedrooms,
District.
location. Yeah. It could also be, I need a bigger house because my wife's pregnant and we have no room. Or I need a smaller house immediately because I can't afford the mortgage payment on this house. I mean, there's also. Majority of the needs analysis, usually pain points. That's why people move, they have a pain point and they need that buying real estate will solve. Pre-qualification pre-approval. Neighborhood information, the home search, you make the offer, negotiating to buy, vendor coordination, pre-close preparation, closing, post-closing. These are all of the areas of your value proposition. And then when we go into the seller side. Same thing, you got the needs analysis. Pricing strategies, property preparation. How many walk into a listing and you're just like, oh.
They're like, we're ready for photos.
Nah.
The beds aren't made.
I will not take these photos and put them on the MLS. We will be packing up this entire house. And I got a guy who can clean. Property preparation, marketing strategy, then you receive the offer, you're negotiating the sale, you sell it, pre-close preparation, closing, post-closing. These are your areas of your value propositions for your buyers and sellers. All right, so what do buyers most want from their agent? This is based on 2021. What's really funny is we went to family reunion in February. You were there and they did Gary Keller did the state of the industry. When they went over this graph, even though this says 2021, I guarantee this graph hasn't changed much. Because the reality is what buyers want from their agent. They want you to find them the right home to purchase. They want you to negotiate it. And that's it.
It's not the best deal, like they wanna save the most money.
Great. They want you to find them a home and they want to make sure that you're getting them a home at the best possible price. That's it. It's that simple.
That's in the other category, it's a pretty good percentage.
Oh, it's funny. No, if participants ask, which factors are included in other?
If I just-
Oh, yes, so that's great. Thank you. Help with paperwork is 8%. Determine what comparable homes we're selling for, 6%. Determine how much home buyers can afford, 4%. Help find and arrange financing, 3%. Help teach buyers more about neighborhoods, 2%, and help find renters for the buyer's property, So the majority of buyers, what they want is they want you to find a home and they want you to negotiate. That's 76% of the buyers, what they want. So this is what you focus on. That's so fun. That's which factor.
If Chris asks.
Yeah, Chris Greathouse, who has the best last name for real estate
I know, right?
ever. So keep in mind, these are results from buyers being asked to state the one thing that's most important to them. Most buyers need help with paperwork or learning about their neighborhood. Yet when asked to give just one answer, this is what they said. So the reality is, even though they said, I want them to tell me about a neighborhood, the reality is they want you to help them buy a home.
I don't wanna get too.
Get it?
Is
Great.
it- Is this a multiple choice question?
Nope.
Was it, okay,
It said just to state one thing.
so there's probably a lot of parts that go into that, help finding the right purchase.
Yeah.
Think about the skills or services you offer and then that align with what buyers want and write these in your participation guide. So let's write them down. So if buyers want you to help them find the right home. Write down about like 5 or 6 skills or services that you offer that align with what buyers want. Who wants to share with what couple, just couple, you don't have to raise your hand, shout out what you wrote down.
What's in the area that they are interested in, like the businesses and schools and maybe government.
Yeah.
Um,
To like knowledge of neighborhoods.
Availability for them, I want
Say it again.
the availability that I have for them, like how much I want to.
One more.
Jobs and employment, right? I haven't done that goes with the neighborhood, but I'm more so like. These working people. Neighbors working. Or am I the only one going to work in the neighborhood? Sometimes I feel like that. Well, my home.
Sometimes they wanna know, like. Do you have a good network of agents that you work with, to try to find like off market
I was
properties?
gonna say that, maybe just be a resourceful, right? Resourceful agent.
Maybe you know, have pocket listings, that type of thing, yeah. All right, and then factors, the next slide, next page. Factors buyers value when choosing their agent, and this is. The other is big, we'll go over the other, but, the majority of it is agent is honest and trustworthy. Agent's experience and reputation. I feel like agent's experience and reputation's hand in hand. If you've got a lot of experience, you want to make sure that it's important to keep a good reputation. There are agents out there that have a lot of experience who like to burn bridges. Don't be a bridge burner. So you're honest, you're trustworthy, experience and reputation. And then the other. Agent is a friend or family member. That's interesting. So make sure you're calling your friends and family. Last thing you want is your friend or family buying and selling with somebody else. That hurts real bad. Agent's knowledge of the neighborhood. Agent has caring personality, is a good listener. I feel like being a good listener ties in with being honest and trustworthy. Agent is timely with responses. Woo. Hello. Agent seems 100% accessible because of their technology like tablet or smartphone. I kind of disagree with that. I think there's perception that the agent is always available, but yet it's really important to set boundaries. And that's okay. That's why you tie them into resources, so when you're not. You know, here, use my app to search for properties and doom scroll at 10 AM, don't start texting me. Active in local community, I think that's big, I think it's a huge opportunity. For agents is to get involved where they live. If you live here, then you better be at the local events. They do, like in Deer Park, they have days in Deer Park, which is every August. And if you live in Deer Park and you if you're a real estate agent and you tell them you've never been to Days of Deer Park, there's not one person in Deer Park that will buy or sell with you, I guarantee it. Agents association with a particular firm, this was fine, 1%. I mean, the reality is like. You're the person, right? This isn't a knock against KW. I mean, obviously, it's great to have systems and that's part of your value proposition in systems. But they want you. They're not just looking at the firm that you belong to. They're interested, 1% professional designations held by an agent, 1%. So the majority is they want an honest and trustworthy, experienced agent that has a great reputation. So. If you resonate with any of these factors, consider including them in your value proposition. So let's practice. So Annie, can I pick on you? Sure. All right. So in your value proposition, in your elevator pitch. What are some of the key words that you use to describe yourself that kind of resonate with what we just talked about?
Knowledge, problem solving, communication, availability. And creativity. Those things.
Now got a lot of experience. Do you ever just throw out numbers and brag about yourself?
In an elevator pitch, no, in like a buyer seller. Consultation, if I'm sitting down with someone, yes.
Absolutely. What are some of the things that we just discussed? That resonate with everyone else? I mean, obviously, honest trustworthiness, such a key factor.
Just the knowledge and your community, like you know is going on and like you said, going to those events and getting to meet more people, just being involved, I think that helps establish trust. You're really in it.
And it makes it less transactional.
Yes,
I don't want everything to feel like. It's
no commission breath here.
yeah, I'm just a salesman, like I'm a car salesman. You don't wanna have them feel that way, like you just wanna make it like you're just here to help. And then get the appreciation that you deserve.
Yep. Absolutely. Commission breath is a real thing.
Woo.
All right. What sellers? So we just talked about the buyers. Now let's look at the sellers. This is a representation of what sellers want most from their agent. Help price home competitively, 21%. Help seller market home to potential buyers, 20%. Help sell the home within specific time frame, 16%. Help seller find way to fix up home to sell it for more. I think that's important. I want to talk about that. So helping seller find ways to fix up a home to sell it for more.
I've been paying attention to like certain shows and stuff where they do the flips and everything. And I do notice like the rules that they have for the sellers, like they change stuff up, like, whether it's painting or like the size of, or like the way the road should look, for buyers and stuff like that, So I definitely think you should be knowledgeable, you want a realtor or an agent that's like, that comes in with that confidence, like, hey, I know the best way your house should be, so that buyers are really interested, like, you know, you should really look for those things, like what brings in the buyers, so we have some options, so.
Yeah, I think it's important that everyone should have a staging company or know someone who's in either your interior design or staging, because it is amazing, especially in photos, and when people first walk, I mean, when a buyer walks into the house, they determine within the first 15 seconds if they're gonna even. I mean, that's reality. And so when you walk into the house, you have to put your buyer mindset on, and you have to nitpick, okay. Declutter, we need to clean the baseboards, like when the sellers take that extra time to really, and it may not cost them anything. Just saying fix it up, that doesn't mean that we need to tear out the kitchen and put all new cabinets in, though that might come up. You know, you have to be in tune with that, and that's what the sellers need, because when you live in the home for so long, I know I do it, you get somewhat blinders to your house. And when you have that outside come in, you know, they want that feedback that's constructive, because those little details, what it's gonna go a long way in selling. And then the 27% that's other. Is help find a buyer for home. Well, it says help seller market homes to potential buyers, but then the sellers also sometimes want you to bring them a buyer. Help with negotiation and dealing with the buyers is 6%. Help with paperwork and inspections, 5%. Help sellers see homes available to purchase, 1%. Help create and post videos to provide tours of my home is 1%. I think that's funny, that's only 1%.
What was the percentage for paperwork and inspection?
5%.
Oh my gosh, I feel like that should be
12.
much higher.
Yeah,
Right, but it probably just is like harkens back to the fact that they don't know that that's
part of it.
the biggest part of it. A lot of, I mean, most of the time, like
Yeah,
that's the.
you only know
that's the
what you
tipping-
know.
You know what I mean? That's the tipping point. A lot of times the whole transaction is that part, so.
Absolutely. Now, typically, if your sellers already bought the home, they should have an idea that there's a little bit of paperwork.
Sure.
Buyers
The inspection part, you know?
Yeah, the inspection part. Well, and that kind of ties in the inspection part about ways to fix up and sell the home. You know, you may be able to identify things that won't clear an FHA loan. So you have to understand the difference with FHA and conventional.
Are there boundaries like to how much an agent should help their client in decluttering, organizing, or?
You gotta know that. Sometimes you have agents who are a little bit more hands-on and they will help clean out the house. I mean, you just have to be careful with that. And you set your standard that,
If you're gonna want to help.
Yeah.
Like,
Cause I can see my.
it's like such a
Let's just
slippery
leave this
slope,
here,
you
why
know,
don't
it's such
you-
a slippery slope. You'll be out there like mulching before you know it, you'll be like cutting grass.
It really
Like,
is.
I'm kidding, like,
no,
it's such a slippery slope.
yeah. Yeah, and so part of your value proposition, if you're just upfront with it, is you let them know, like, you know, and I have this great. You know, company that I've worked with in the past, you need leverage for helping get your house ready. Because she's right. Is your time better valued going and getting your next sale and working on that? Or are you gonna spend 4 hours on your Saturday helping get the property ready? You may have to, but like Annie said, it's a slippery slope, so it's situational.
Set your boundaries, get some resources.
Yeah, it's the leverage, yes. Alright. So that's what sellers want, and then what sellers consider when choosing an agent. Reputation of the agent, 32%, agent is honest and trustworthy, 19%, so that honest and trustworthy is coming up again. And then 17% is agents is friend or family. So how do you break into that 17% market if you're not family? You build relationships with your database. So I'm gonna tell you this, Monday is the database Ignite, which I teach on Monday, and it is my favorite one out of all of them. So y'all better be here. But we talk a lot about connecting from a lead to a actual contact. And that contact is somebody that you're gonna speak with 36 up to 60 times a year. And you're gonna build that relationship. So if you didn't think that we're in a relationship business, we're in a relationship business. And so 17% of what sellers consider when choosing an agent. 17% of that is an agent, is a friend or a family. So you're gonna be making relationships, and you're gonna be making friends. Because that's what they consider in choosing their agent. Is that relationship factor. Alright, and then the other 44%. Agent's knowledge in the neighborhood, 11%. Agent has caring personality, is a good listener, 5%. Agent's commission. Factor in choosing an agent, 4%. Nothing. It's nothing, right? So we need to know our value proposition. And deliver it, because we need to deliver and we're gonna get paid what we're worth. And they're gonna wanna chase us down and pay us more because we're gonna deliver on our value proposition. The commission is a very, very small percent of why they choose an agent. So when you get, there's companies out there, these discount brokerages, flat fee. List, is it Home Shape that does the flat fee? There's a couple other ones. They're more focused on the money than the actual value proposition. And I guarantee they're not getting top dollar for that home. Because they're not delivering the services at a high level. So commission really is not as big of an impact factor as most agents think it is. And when you're talking to that FSBO, that person that's wanting to sell their house on their own. They're the 4%.
I have a question about.
Yeah.
The commission. Okay, yes, contracts. So are we able to negotiate with like if we're a buyer, are we able to negotiate if a seller can pay our commission for our buyers? Like, does it make sense?
Yeah.
It was some.
All commissions are negotiable. And so
No,
when,
not the percentage of like saying like, oh, 4%, like, I think because we would already sign a buyer's agreement, but it's like. Would it be okay to negotiate that with the actual seller to pay the commission of the buyer?
I'm gonna put myself on mute real quick, hold on.
pay the buyer. So it already exists. It's either 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever percentage it is. It's already there in the contract. What happened with NAR is that, you used to be able to go in the MLS and it was listed. It's just no longer listed. It's still there. You just don't know what it is. You just can't be, it's just not public, right? Does that help?
It does,
Okay.
it makes me wanna rank up the percentage that we can negotiate better. That makes sense.
What did you say that again?
Kind of makes me wanna rank up like the percentage rate of what I'm charged in, that way I can have the most advantage to negotiate with the seller.
So. I don't know how to answer that statement. I do wanna make sure that you're clear on this. In the buyer rep agreement. When you put in there that your commission is 3%. Or say your commission is 2%, or say your commission is 1% or 4%. Commissions are. When you sign that buyer rep agreement, whatever your commission percentage or flat rate is, you cannot get more than what is in that buyer rep agreement in your purchase contract. So you may have a seller that overshares and says, oh yeah, they're willing to pay up to 4% buyer commission. And you have a buyer rep agreement that says 3%, you cannot put in that contract more than 3%. You cannot get more than what is in your buyer rep agreement.
That makes sense.
So if you're trying to sell the buyers or the buyer to sign with you. And you're like, you know what, I'll just put my percentage as 1% and see what I can get from the listing agent. You can't get more than that 1%.
And so, one, the seller has already agreed with the seller's agent what they're willing to pay. You have a buyer's agreement. You've agreed with the buyer what your fee is, what your commission is. Additionally, when you write an offer to the seller, that same number that you've given your buyer goes into that contract as well. So it's, it already exists. You and your buyer have agreed, and now you're asking the seller through your purchase contract that you've written with the buyer, what that needs to be.
So practicing your delivery of your buyer rep agreement is very important. On the contract process,
So
you have to,
this Saturday, then next Saturday.
Do you, I'm happy to set if you wanna,
Yeah.
like tomorrow or later today?
Yes.
Like,
Yes, absolutely. I've been trying to figure out all week for my kids, he's been great.
Ah.
And, yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
that's great.
It's really nice.
Practice is huge, right, in that delivery, and also just reading, so practicing with another agent, 100% suggest. But also make sure you read that buyer rep agreement over and over again and read the purchase agreement, especially this section that talks about compensation. Okay, so read the contract, drop it into ChatGPT
I was
too.
just gonna say, I took a picture of the contract in a chat and then it just broke down what everything meant.
Yeah.
And then I asked it like how to basically put it in the format so I can explain it to the
perfect.
potential party.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, because you really need to be able to sit across and like read it upside down.
Yeah.
Like you need to be able to read it upside down. I do have a question, and I think this is, I can't remember if it's only the Kentucky contract. I think maybe we're going to need to. In the Kentucky contract. There is a new spot, and well, I don't know what it is, I think it was like December, but it talks about unrepresented buyers.
Yes.
And I've always been like, but an unrepresented buyer is an unrepresented buyer. I'm not representing them. They're not my client. If they're an unrepresented buyer, they're not my client. Why would that, shouldn't that always be 0? Like the way the way they changed it, it was like, this amount for this, for your seller, the selling agent, the buying agent, but then there's a section that talks about unrepresented buyer, and I'm like, an unrepresented buyer is an unrepresented buyer.
So
Representing them, why am I charging them money?
So I think it has to do with your exclusive right to list. Where it spells out how much your commission is, and then there's a section if you bring an unrepresented buyer. Because does it break it down to say you're gonna charge 7% or X amount, but then 4% is coming to you?
Yeah, it says, for the buyer. Or for the seller, in my mind, it's like, okay, so maybe I'm representing the seller for 2%. We're gonna pay the buyer's agent 3%,
Sure.
okay? But then an unrepresented buyer
I think that there's,
is an unrepresented buyer.
I think that's the stipulation that says, like, if an unrepresented buyer, how that. Co-op commissions handle then.
Yeah.
So does it then go to you?
Right,
Right.
in my mind, I'm like, why would it come to me? Because if it comes to me, then they're my client. I'm gonna sit down and talk to them about being a buyer. I would sign them as a buyer and then I become a dual agent. Why do I need anything in that unrepresented buyer? In my mind, it should always be 0.
Well, that's a conversation you have with your seller and you explain to them. So in the case of an unrepresented buyer, how would you like to handle this commission?
Got it,
Yeah.
okay.
My impression was that it's, and, I don't feel like I'm an expert on this, but my impression is that it's just, you have to do more legwork. So even though you're not necessarily like,
Sure.
so
But in my mind, I'm like, sometimes. Because there's an infinite number of situations, let's say. My seller's margin is like paper thin. Somebody comes to my open house, they just love the house, they wanna buy it, okay, great, then you can be an unrepresented buyer, potentially. I can just work and make 3%, helping my seller. Make a little.
Right, but your fiduciary duties to your seller and you have an unrepresented buyer come to the table, you definitely 100% are gonna have to do more work.
For sure.
Right? And so I think it's important to explain to your seller that in a case of an unrepresented buyer, there's gonna be potential hurdles, because that's gonna determine, they have to determine what contract they wanna accept.
Right.
Who writes the contract when you have an unrepresented buyer?
Exactly, but at that point. I guess back to
This is how I'm interpreting
Yeah.
it.
I guess back to your point, because it's like in my mind, I'm like, but if they're unrepresented, and I know that I'm gonna have to basically represent them. At that point, I'm gonna sit down with them and make them. My client, I'm gonna make them my customer.
Well, and that's how you're handling
Yeah.
that's how you're handling the business. Not all agents are gonna do that,
Got
because
Okay,
there's agents that go into situations like, I will refuse to be a dual agent.
yeah, I don't like to be dual agent either.
And so when you have an unrepresented buyer that comes to a table. Your fiduciary duty is to the seller, you have to
Right.
explain that to the seller, though you're going to have to do more work. And. You can do your best to advise that unrepresented buyer that they probably need representation.
Right,
And then you can tip them off to either another kid or another agent, or. You can. Represent them in a limited capacity where you're helping facilitate the contract. But that's extra work.
I like this, I like this answer only because it's been. A debate that I have previously been having. And was being told like, no, it has to be, you have to put 3% here. I'm like, why would I automatically do that? Doesn't make any sense to me, so I.
But
Yeah.
and I know why that was presented that way, because that's from a brokerage trying to. Maximize the commission.
There you go,
That's not focusing on the fiduciary.
exactly, okay.
I have a question. What if the unrepresented buyer,
Sorry.
what if they just hire a real estate attorney just to draw up the people?
Well, and
Is
that-
an option?
Literally, I had that exact situation last year, and that's why I've been sort of arguing back and forth. Because I had that exact situation happen, and I'm like, even so, work with an attorney, fine, like, okay, great, like. Have them call me up, you know what I mean, like.
The
yeah.
bottom line is you have to do what's right for your client. In this situation, her client is the seller. So what is in the best interest of the seller? Yes, I think the unrepresented buyer will come with problems. This may not be a smooth transaction. We're going to advise that unrepresented buyer. I really suggest getting representation, but here's the thing, and you can't prevent them from being able to put in an offer just because they don't have a real estate agent. That's a violation. And so, but you can give them their options, like I would suggest getting real estate agent, or I suggest, here, I will write this contract, my fiduciary duty is to the seller. Please have your attorney review this before accepting it. You know, so it's just understanding the ins and outs of an unrepresented buyer, because they're out there.
Yeah.
I about tackled my dad, who insisted on being an unrepresented buyer, and like, this is just the silliest thing I've ever heard.
Thank you for answering.
That's funny.
It's your dad, my dad.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, just walk up to this house and tell them I'll give them this amount of money. Fine, why did they accept my offer?
In cases like that, is it likely then that another real estate, if somebody else looking to buy a house would have an agent, and they would swoop in faster anyway?
So an unrepresented buyer typically thinks that they can use that as leverage to decrease the sale price, because they're not working with a real estate agent that's gonna require commission paid by the seller. That's why unrepresented, a lot of investors will do that. Investors are actually struggling right now, and we're at 11 o'clock, so I do want to be conscious of your time. Can we go 10 minutes over? Okay, thank you. So you have investors who, before the buyer rep agreement was required, would have agents doing a lot of legwork for them, and then they would skirt around and go directly to the seller or the seller's agent to try to get a cheaper price because they're an unrepresented buyer. Shady stuff happens all the time. The buyer rep agreement has helped protect us as real estate agents, because they can't do that. They can't even get into a house without a buyer rep agreement. An unrepresented buyer is gonna present a lot of difficulties, because they should still have that opportunity, but reality is they can't really even come into the house without some sort of buyer rep agreement. So, but you have people that put offers in sight unseen, if it comes up. Okay, so. We have new agents in the office, or in here. And you're looking at the top one, it says reputation of the agent. Agent is honest and trustworthy, and agent is a family friend. They also talked about experience being a quality. Now, if you're a new agent, you may wonder if this is a disadvantage. You don't necessarily have a reputation of being an agent, because you're still in the early stages of building your reputation as a real estate expert. However, we encourage you to lean on the powerhouse reputation of Keller Williams as you're getting started. For example, you can tell potential clients KW has the strongest reputation in our market for helping people with their real estate needs in the fastest time frame and with the least number of problems. You could be on a team. Well, yes, you can acknowledge, I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily nod like, yeah, I'm a new agent. I would take that out of your vocabulary, but you can say like, I'm backed by, like, so our brokerage market share in Cincinnati is number 7. So our agents in our market, we're number 7 in market share in the city, in the Cincy MLS. I am in part of a brokerage of 225 agents. I'm part of a team that's 50 agents. I'm part of a team that is number 5 in the state of Ohio, number 1 in the city of Cincinnati. So there's just, you have to use the statistics of the brokerage itself. Lore reports are important. We're not going to talk about lore right now, but understanding the numbers and how the market center stacks up against other brokerages. But I think it's important to lean on the resources of the market center, lean on the resources and knowledge of other real estate agents when you're discussing value proposition. Another key tool with your value proposition is the app. So this talks about the KW Command app itself. You know, you can set up smart plans to track your leads, your follow-up. You have the app where the consumer app, so the clients can use the consumer app to search for properties. They can connect with you as an agent. You can use Command then to track what properties that they're looking for. And then you have your sites, your website as well. So you can customize your website for blogs, you can customize it for your listings, you can showcase certain listings on your website. And that's part of your value proposition is your phone as well. So having high-end technology is a value proposition for your clients. All right. Okay, so this is the last 10 minutes that we're gonna do. And this is the most important part, and I'm sorry that we got sidetracked on this.
Sorry.
Fine,
It's partially my fault.
huh?
It's partially my fault.
No, not at all. It was all good conversation. 3 steps to define your value proposition. So here are the 3 steps. Identify your knowledge, attitudes, skills, and beliefs that make you qualified to be a great real estate agent. Transform the value you provide and the value of KW in your market center into benefits for your client. Build your value proposition statement, your elevator pitch. We're gonna break this down. All right, so step 1, defining your value proposition asks you to identify your knowledge, attitudes, skills, and beliefs that make you qualified to be a great real estate agent. For your value proposition to resonate in a meaningful way with your clients, you must be aligned with who you are and what your true abilities are. So break this down into what knowledge do I bring to this job? So perhaps you've had a degree in accounting, law, Latin, finance. See how I added that one in there? Or you've worked in construction and you have a great knowledge of homes, home building, codes, etc. So what knowledge do you bring to this job? What attitudes am I bringing to this job? So perhaps you consider yourself caring, confident, committed, honest. So we did, what knowledge do I bring to the job? What attitude? What skills do you offer? So perhaps you're a tech whiz, love AI. Maybe you're really good at problem solving, teach technology, you're great with negotiating. So those are the skills. And what beliefs do you have? Integrity, equity. All right, so do you guys have this? Okay, so you have all this. So your knowledge, your attitudes, your skills. So fill out this chart. So add your skills that you offer. What knowledge do you have? What are your attitudes? What are your beliefs? Now, what I want you to do after you've written those down, circle the attributes that align with what buyers and sellers value from the data that we were just talking about.
Yes, I thought I said one.
Circle, so what you wrote down, circle the words that align, the attributes that align with what buyers and sellers value based on what we talked about with what buyers want and what sellers want. All right, so after you've done that, step 2 is your value proposition. I'm sorry, it's my son. Yeah, what's up, buddy? Yes, take it. Yep, take it, because you don't want him to come back.
It just wasn't.
Sorry, I'm just finishing up the class, okay?
Like swipe it over on the.
No worries, no worries.
Alright.
Sick kiddo at home.
Oh, we're trying.
All right, so step 2, value proposition. Transform the value you provide and the value of your KW Market Center into beliefs for your clients. Your value proposition statement expresses the value you provide in language that makes it relevant to your clients. So think through how your knowledge, attitudes, skills, beliefs can be beneficial to your clients. Many of your life experiences can be relevant to real estate. If you don't see it, look at it from another angle. Even if you haven't articulated it to yourself, you have already used your experience to help others. Perhaps you were a teacher or a little league coach. You have experience helping others. How did your personal experience make you especially helpful? How could you see it in the future? How could you use this in the future? When considering how to make it, sorry, about it, frog in my throat. When considering how to make it in real estate relevant, think about what buyers and sellers say are the most important factors to them. Now think through how the value you receive from KW in your market center can be beneficial to your clients. So let's say your market center averages 98.9% of listing price. When meeting with a potential client, you can share that statistic with them. However, it does not convey your full scope of your value to your clients. Instead, you say, get the best sale price for your home due to my thorough training in negotiating. In negotiation. You can also think about services you offer that are made faster, more convenient, or more accurate when you use KW technology. So let's talk about that. So personal experience. So if you haven't sold a home, but you're trustworthy, you're responsive, you're thorough, you can negotiate. Maybe in your prior position, you were able to negotiate. Maybe you, maybe in your prior position, before coming into real estate, that you had a financial background, so you could really read through that settlement statement. You can make sure that the numbers are working. Maybe you can help them in calculating the value of their home and also looking at how much they owe on their home. So you can do a seller net sheet and figure out what they could potentially take home. Because you have to factor in all of those expenses, all the liens, everything that they have associated with it. All right, so you've got a chart in the participation guide, first related to the value they provide. Second chart is related to the value they receive from the market center. So I don't see on my end, same page. Let's look here, or unless I can actually see it. Okay.
I actually like this. It's gonna help with a bias presentation for you, for sure. Got it.
Yeah, so now we're filling out, so we're on page 411. All right, and so we're filling out based on the chart. And then when you go to the last page, and this is the last thing that we're going to do today. On step 3, after you filled out step 2, we're going to actually build a value proposition. This is the strongest value proposition for your client. Finds the value you offer backed by value offered by KW and Market Center. Remember, this is not about perfection. Value proposition will most likely change as you learn new skills and gain experience from it. I think it's important that we take step 2, put it into step 3, and use AI to accentuate what you're talking or what your value proposition is. So AI is a tool to not necessarily create it from scratch. You're using that to fine-tune your value proposition.
Negotiation process, like a hard best.
Yeah, we've got something in the works for May. That we've had a couple of people ask about the negotiating. But yeah, there's a negotiation in Ignite. Who's teaching me? Oh, she's the best one to teach it. Jennifer Baldwin, absolutely. She teaches,
Yeah.
she's usually the one that teaches our negotiation class. She teaches the CE class for negotiating.
Email that flyer too, right?
Oh, yeah, it's on our website, but there's a bunch of them printed by the printer shop.
Color codes.
Huh?
The color codes are always different.
Yeah. All right, who wants to share their value proposition?
I have good. I know how to position off there and handle a pushback and advocate for my client.
Woo, I like that.
Stop again. Can I write that down?
Yes. There you go. This is screen is just, okay, here. I know how to position offers and handle pushback and advocate for my client. Like that. So I'd like to. The plan. I think that's the skills. Cause that's where I'm gonna, I feel like I can complex on. I am going to be there for you, I promise you, like, I'm showing you how. to Get it in.
Right, well, that comes from authenticity just now, the way that you said that. Put that in your value proposition. I'm going to be there for you. I will advocate for you.
And that takes confidence too. I mean. Be sure of yourself and
Right, keep on classes, and that knowledge.
Repetition, it's all about repetition. You have, this is like kind of like your framework, like your statement, this is your value proposition statement. And it's going to evolve constantly over time. And the more that you speak it out into existence, right, it will change, but you practice it. That's why, like, we talked about the elevator pitch, like, you have to be able to just say it.
I can't use that, but I like the example. It's so.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys staying a little bit longer. And I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Does anyone have any ahas around this? I wanted to show you a quick resource that kind of is like a companion. It's not an Ignite class, so I'm pivoting a little bit. But if you are in command, so if you are in command, and you go to connect, and you type in value squared, or how to articulate your value to your clients. This is so when all the stuff came out with the NAR settlement, that went into effect in August of 2024. KW released all these classes on value squared. And so it's how to articulate your value to your clients. There's multiple people. So if you click on value squared, there's just additional resources.
What tab did you get? Cause I don't see that tab.
So you go to command and it's connect. And then you just type in the search, just type in value. But like there's multiple recordings.
Yeah, that's.
So this is a 2 hour and 54 minute class taught by Jason Abrams. Talking about value squared. It's presented by Gary Keller, Jay Pavazon, and Jason Abrams. But again, this is just resources. There's a lot of additional links to help you with this, but I think we're gonna start. So this is the last time we're teaching this course at Ignite. We're gonna start doing Breakthrough 120, which is a new course that's based off of Ignite. But it's a little bit more condensed, it's not 20 classes, it's just 5. They're 3-4 hours long. And we're gonna start teaching this value squared also, so just keep a lookout on this. But if you're ever just wanting to learn, if you like videos, resources, like here's all the Breakthrough 120 classes are already on here. Say you want, let's say buyer rep. Consultation. You have these one pagers from top agents in our industry who have. For instance, this one is a one pager for your buyer rep. For your buyer consultation. And it just talks about. What is this, 9 steps? Classic conversation framework at the beginning. So the buyer's answers will help populate the buyer DNA form, so location, price, motivation, says pre-qualifying. The buyer DNA form, so then you're gonna write down contact information about, so you have to have in that buyer form where you can physically write down the information, their wish list, their financing, there should be a page for all of this. And then, if you are on a team, flow chart, just resources here.
That's why you can come on Friday.
Huh?
And now come on Friday.
Yeah,
Do you
so
plan?
Friday, I forget what we were talking about Friday. The topic, I think,
Region night.
no, there, so Friday, I also do open command tech, so like Maggie tomorrow, yeah, she's doing quiz tomorrow, Legion. Yeah, that's gonna be a great class, and then afterwards, I do command workshops, so we'll be digging into this, I forget
Will
what
they
we
be live like yours was just now?
Huh?
Will they be live like yours was just now? Okay, that's where I need to get sure. If I'm at home, I can't get it done.
You go to our YouTube channel, we go live on everything.
I follow you on Facebook, so I see the announcements you make, and I just so